In this lesson, we're going to take a look at how the graph editor can be used to build out this simple UI component. This is something that maybe you'd see in a UI interface uh, for technology, something that would pop up maybe out of like a television screen or something like that. So, this is something that would come on very quickly, like pieces would slide out, things would expand, numbers would come on the screen, things like that. So, this is very open ended. I'm going to attempt to animate this and show you how I would use the graph editor then to make it a little bit better. So I'm going to start with is this first bar here and set a keyframe. And this is how I want it to end. And I'm going to set a keyframe here. So I'm going to have it just expand outwards like so. So we'll start at 0. So it'll come forward and it'll come to a rest. Initially, I would set an easy ease in keyframe. I'd probably set an out point here so I don't have to render the whole thing and just kind of see how this looks. So that would probably work, just a simple ease in. Next, we're going to move into, so this one's going to expand outwards. And maybe when it gets to here, maybe the purple bar will expand left to right as well. So we'll do a scale here. I'll start this here and we'll set another keyframe forward. And preview this. And might be interesting to see the purple bar end at the same time as the other. Maybe overlap just a little bit. And then we need to have this guy come on as well. So I'll set a scale keyframe here and I just drag it forward just to get an idea for timing here. Set this to ease in as well. And you'll see here that the bar is expanding outwards. I want it to scale left to right. So how do I fix that? I need to move the anchor point of this layer. So I can just hit Y on the keyboard and move it over here and just align it with the left side of my layer. And maybe it'll come on when the purple hits. So right in here. And I like the overlay look that's happening here. So now we'll do this last bar here. Another ease in. So let's see if we can make this any more interesting. So let's turn off all these other layers here, just so we can really focus on this. And I'm going to select all of these keyframes when they come in, open up the graph editor here. And let's actually make these ease out just a little bit. So it looks pretty cool. And then at this point, I would start adding just additional elements in. So maybe this guy just pops on. Something, actually, we'll skip the numbers here. Let's move up to the elements. X1 can start at the beginning. Element, this element could probably come on maybe somewhere in here. And we'll go ahead and animate this one in. So this guy can just actually pop on. And group 2 is composed of this bracket, left bracket, and the right bracket. So we'll rename those. And we'll set keyframes for each of these shape layers. Maybe somewhere right in there. So maybe this will be positive 30. And they'll just both slide out. Yeah, that works. And what can make these actually even more interesting is they maybe take a little bit longer to come on. But I'll change this to the speed graph. We'll make them really fly in. Yeah, that's nice. And you'll notice at the beginning of the animation starts with the X1 and this bar already here. It's okay to start an animation already in process. A lot of times you don't necessarily need to start an animation with nothing on screen. It's okay to start with something there. And that's what I'm doing here. So we've got a circle set here. Let's actually back it up. Let's go to circle set 1. There we go. And this one we can actually use. We have an outer ring and an inner dot. So for the inner dot, what we'll do is we'll scale it up pretty quickly. So you can see here that the problem is that the dot is scaling from over here on the side where the anchor point is. So what we need to do is move that anchor point to the center of this layer here. And it doesn't have to be perfect because it's so quick. That looks pretty centered. So there it is. It comes in nice and quick. But what we'll do here is, well, maybe have a little bit of an overshoot. So we'll open up the graph editor here. Change it back to the value graph. And we'll do a little bit of an overshoot here. Something kind of in between would work. Maybe a little bit more of an overshoot. And a little bit quicker on the keyframe. That looks nice. And then we will turn the graph editor back off. And let's go to the outer ring. And what we'll do here is we'll add a trim path. And to this trim path, we'll have it end maybe just after the inside dot scales up. So we'll just start it maybe somewhere right here. And let's see how that looks. So that works, okay. I think that this could be, the trim path could have a little bit of an ease in as well. And some of these things you're not going to actually think like, oh, well, that's not totally necessary, but It'll make the the animation that much more interesting. So let's try an ease out and an ease in. And let's actually take both of these into the graph editor. Let's make sure we're on the speed. And let's make both of them just very extreme. So very subtle, but it makes the animation that much more interesting to look at. So now that guy flies in. And when that happens, just as it's starting to wrap up, we're going to have the extender come out. We have a dotted line and a horizontal line. So we'll make the dotted line come first. And same thing here, we're going to add a trim path. And we'll start that trim path right there. And you can see right now it's going the opposite way. It's going from top to bottom. And we actually want it to go from bottom to top. So I'll zoom in here. You can see this a little bit better. So how do we do that? We just click right here and we're going to reverse the path direction. And there we go. So now it's moving outwards. And this one I don't feel like needs an ease of any kind. So I'm good with this. As soon as it hits the top here, maybe one frame before, that's where the horizontal line is going to come on. And for this, let's do like a simple scale outwards. Actually, let's just do a path animation here. So we'll do a path and we'll just take bring that point in and we'll select this point and bring it in. And maybe do a little bit of an ease on this one. Really quick here. And maybe we could actually overlap these just slightly. So we could make this horizontal bar look like it's coming up with these dots. And to do that, let's try something here. We'll back this up. So we'll make the horizontal position in there. But here, we'll bring the position down, maybe somewhere in here. And we'll do a simple ease in and check this out here. Maybe start it. Should start it just a little bit sooner. I actually want to start it a little bit higher up in the frame. Maybe somewhere right here. And then as soon as this guy comes up, that's where we're going to have this first number come on, which I believe is 34. There we go. And we'll bring 34 just above here. And we'll do something real simple here. We'll use a one of my favorites, which is called Decoder Fade In. I'll hit U on the keyboard. And we can't see, there's a second keyframe here, but it's so far off the timeline we can't see it, where it goes to 100%. So we'll come back here and we'll just add the key right here. And maybe take a little bit of time there. That's a little bit too much time. And we'll zoom out and just kind of take a look at this. So now the bar moving upwards feels way too slow. So I'll hit U on the keyboard to reveal those properties and maybe bring these guys up here. And this is what I do a lot of times is I just keep it playing on a loop until I feel like it looks okay. I also think that this trim circle here, the outer circle, could maybe scale up as it's trimming on. So let's find that one really quickly here. That's going to be the outer ring. And what we'll do is we'll add, let's actually see if the anchor point's off on this one as well. So we'll hit Y on the keyboard and bring it in there, just close to the center. Set a scale keyframe. Bring it down, maybe something like in here. So looking at this again, I think the 34, the circle set all together could, the line moving up, the extender could happen a lot quicker, as well as the 34 coming on. So let's just bring those up a bit in the timeline. And I'm going to bring the timing of these up a little bit as well. Yeah, that works for me. So now what I would do is I would just duplicate these layers and apply them across the board to the rest of these elements that are here. You can see that they're essentially just duplicated sets of numbers. But that, you should get the idea there that that's, how I would approach this. Using the graph editor, it's going to make your animations a lot more interesting versus just solid keyframes where things just move on in a very linear fashion. Because we have a little bit of easing going on here with the graph editor, it's much more interesting to watch, much more pleasing to the eye.